Speaking of all kinds of hair, that's as good a transition as any to this next email. Hold on. I want to trying to keep my files in order here. Here's an update from one of the listeners on something we just spoke about not long ago, which, of course, was the arrest of that menace to society, that noted criminal, FBI's most wanted #1, Greasy Grimy Grover, the Outlaw Mud Show garbage wrestler, who got arrested and taken to jail after he was found passed out in a car and administered Narcan to because he had snorted 10 bags of heroin. Because we were saying, I believe, Brian, you might remember that, well, goddamn, he was just running a GoFundMe for himself where regular people, everyday people, civilians with lives and children and responsibilities were asked and expected to donate money to a GoFundMe to help this guy because he allowed another fat, bearded, pierced nitwit to fucking pick him upside down on top of a ladder and drop him through various numbers of fluorescent light tubes head first to the floor below, where amazingly enough he was injured. And he wanted then people to pay for his obviously totally unavoidable accident and the surgeries and etc. that followed. You know, because there's no hungry children and no needy animals and no diseases that need cured. And I said, well, you know, he raised like $10,000 from these people in that GoFundMe. I said, well, he snorted 10 bags of heroin. I said, well, he snorted his GoFundMe. How much is a fucking bag of heroin, right? You didn't know. I figured out your music connections, that might be something you're on top of, like the fucking Dow Jones Industrial Average.
I was more into uppers.
Well, I'm not saying you yourself. I'm saying for you to keep control of all of the the artists and the talented people that you former music industry executives had under your thumb. You'd want to know how much it was going to cost you to put the monkey on their back, have them beholden to the H.
Keep going.
All right, anyway.
Any other nicknames for heroin?
Well, I'm trying to think of all the fucking Seinfeld J. Peterman episodes that when Elaine was eating the poppy seeds and guy kept getting popped on the drug test. But anyway, amazingly enough, a lot of members of our audience apparently know better than we did about what the retail is on heroin these days. And it wasn't as much as I would have said, okay, heroin all my life. From the time that I used to watch Dragnet when I was just a little nipper, 5, 6 years old. Heroin is like the main event drug. Heroin is the big deal. Heroin, it's like you say, Londos, Thez, Sammartino, heroin.
Coltrane. No, go ahead.
Well, there you go. Heroin's the one that fucked everybody, right? And heroin is supposed to. So I figured heroin would be the most expensive of your drugs, right? Apparently not. This is what I'm finding out now. There's one particular email here, but we got comments on Twitter and we got emails and whatever the fuck, but this is from Sharon. I was listening to you talk about the arrest of Grover, the outlaw wrestler, and mentioned that he was caught with 10 bags of heroin. Actually, I don't think he wasn't caught with it. I think he said he snorted that, but they caught him with the heroin and the methamphetamine and the alprazolam and the failure to keep right and the expired tags and the whole 9 yards. So she says, caught with 10 bags. One bag costs probably $5, maybe 10, depending on where he gets it from and what's cut into it. They are teeny little bags, and 10 is honestly about average for what my clients use at a time. Now, wait a minute.
Whoa.
Let's back up. Before you have any bad feelings about Sharon, she is a counselor at an inpatient treatment program. Okay, so that's what my clients. Now we have a different perspective on it because I did the same. I'm like, wait a minute. And alprazolam, by the way, imagine this, is Xanax. I knew it was a generic prescription name for something, but it's Xanax, which, well, I never read the fine print on the bottle when every 20 years I'm getting on a plane. I just drink the whole goddamn bottle down. But anyway, She says, I'm not surprised a lot of the deathmatch wrestlers are hooked on opiates. People with opiate problems try to fake medical problems a lot. So going out and intentionally getting hurt like that is a good way to help feed your habit.
Good strategy.
Which makes me start to think about something. Because everybody has been saying, oh, well, no wonder all those deathmatch wrestlers get hooked on drugs and heroin and pain pills and everything, because look what they do to themselves. Because it's in the real professional wrestling industry, in the legitimate professional wrestling industry, obviously pain pills for the past 30 years or whatever have become an issue. And that is because of the damage that you suffer as a professional wrestler that you go through in a lot of cases. That's probably almost all the cases. That's the start of anybody's dependence in the legitimate professional wrestling industry on pain pills or pharmaceuticals. But now I've never thought about it this way, and this might explain some shit. The garbage wrestlers, do they become garbage wrestlers, deathmatch wrestlers, because they're already drug addicts and they feel, well, fuck it, I got to figure out a way to hurt myself so somebody will pay me something to do to myself what I'm about to try to do anyway so I can go to the fucking hospital and get more drugs. Does that explain why that they've damaged their brains, they're addicted to drugs already, they're fucking on the lower dregs of society to begin with and have no marketable skills and or fucking hope in life, so they become garbage match wrestlers to hurt themselves on purpose, and instead of doing it for free, somebody will give them $50 for it, and then they can go and get more fucking pain pills. I think we're onto something.
Junkie wrestling. We're onto something. You know, you said something before, you thought the shit that fucked you up would be the expensive stuff. The stuff that always does the most societal damage is the cheap shit. Cocaine didn't really fuck up society. Crack cocaine did. And heroin's cheap. People get hooked on it and they throw away their whole life just funding it nonstop all day.
But I've just never sat down to think, but it seemed to me that the stronger the drug, or the more dangerous the drug, or the more illicit the drug, or the, whatever, the more mistake, that would be the expensive, the harder to get, the whole 9 yards. It's counterintuitive. Weed's legal in 35 fucking states, and a bag of it's a couple $100, and fucking heroin is illegal everywhere, and it's cheap as shit. That don't make no good sense.
Well, relatively cheap. Again, you're talking, I mean, I'm not a heroin expert, but I've read several books. I have. I read a lot about punk rock, and I've read William Burroughs and everything else. So I guess it's a substance. It's just a little bit of it. That's all I don't know what we're talking about here.
Well, wait a minute. So you mean you used to do a little, but a little didn't get it till a little got more and more? Is that what you're saying?
That's not what I'm saying, but I think that song, in fact, is about heroin. Mr. Brownstone.
All right. Well, that was actually Axl Rose's uncle that used to live in a brownstone. That's what that was about.
He was a big fan of Dick the Bruiser.
Yes, he was.
Axl's from Indiana.
What is that town? God damn it. What's the town he's from?
I don't know. There's like 2 towns. I don't know. It's not Evansville.
There's more than 2 towns in Indiana. There's just not any people in most of them. But Brian, most people don't want to have surgery. It's not a pleasant experience. Nothing about the thing is really something you'd plan for a vacation. But there are certain things you can do to take matters in your own hands to make having surgery more pleasant. Have you ever prepped your own self for surgery?
I have not, no.
Well, you need to do that, because what they do is, depending on what part of you they're operating on. Now, let's say, for example, they're giving you a colonoscopy. There's no reason to shave anything. But if I've had a couple of hernia surgeries, and they worked on my knees quite a bit, especially down there on the hernia surgery, they will shave you when you go into the hospital, they'll shave you, and they will do it with implements that you've never seen before, and you've never seen the operator, and you don't have a personal relationship, and they look sharp, and they're in a sensitive area. So what I figured out after the first time, I always prep myself. I'll shave myself slicker than cum on a gold tooth in the area in which they're going to be operating and perusing so that nobody else has to do anything to it. It's all right there ready for them. That's a good idea, ain't it?
After the first time, how many times have you gone in for this?
Well, then I just started doing it on a regular basis just to make sure I was always ready. But I'll tell you what, folks, if you want to shave your crotch to prepare for surgery or just to prepare for fun times over the holidays, well, then you need to check out our friends at Manscaped. Because by cracky, it's never too early to start thinking about Christmas gifts or cleaning your crotch. So whether it's for a friend or the friend in your pants, you can make this season jolly with Manscaped. You can do your little drummer boy a favor and use that Lawnmower 4.0 to avoid another silent night in the bedroom. That's exactly what this copy says. But I'll tell you what, you're going to have people thinking all I want for Christmas is you if Santa cares about his sack. And that's exactly what the Manscaped Platinum Package 4.0 will allow you to do, is care for your sack. The one-stop shop for the man who deserves it all and the man who has too much of it. It's got everything, including the Lawnmower 4.0 body trimmer, the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer so you can get hair off of every surface and all of the orifices. Well, I wouldn't advise taking that Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer south of the border and inserting it, but it's up to you depending on what type of foliage you have. But the Lawnmower 4.0 does a heck of a job of at least mowing the shoulders of the Hershey Highway. And there's a 4000K LED light on it, so you can backlight all of that stuff and you can mow it down. Then the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and the Crop Reviver Ball Toner can solve those odor problems all day long. No longer will your friends and neighbors and loved ones be able to smell you coming halfway down the road. Instead, you will be spreading holiday cheer with a leer. And for the perfect stocking stuffer, add in the brand new Body Buffer. It's an incredible body scrubber that makes exfoliating easy. You can exfoliate all the foliage that you need with the brand new Body Buffer. Go to manscaped.com/JCE right now, and you're going to get 20% off and free shipping. 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com/JCE right now to get your jingle balls ready for the holidays. And then, of course, New Year's, where they drop the ball. What do you think? If Manscaped was to sponsor Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve, would they start dropping 2 balls?
I don't know how to answer this. No.
All right, well, let's move on from balls.
They would focus on the one ball that's been established for 100-something years.
Well, it's the year 2022, about to be 2023, out with the old, in with the new. Shouldn't we, for the second millennium or whatever, shouldn't we have 2 balls?
Don't you think if they were going to add 2 balls, if we're going to go with this stupid fucking issue that we're talking about, if they were going to add 2 balls to the ball dropping in Times Square on New Year's Eve, wouldn't they have done it for the year 2022 with 3 2s in it? They wouldn't do it for 2023. Too late.
They missed their opportunity, but they should do it they should have done it for the year 2000. 2000, 2 balls. And every 1,000 years, they add another ball.
Were you afraid of Y2K?
Fuck Jericho.
Not Jericho, when they were saying...
I could stretch him. I wasn't afraid of him. Let him do his worst.
Could Chris Jericho get out of your sugar hold?
Absolutely not. Hey, not if I got it on him. I tell you what, Tommy Rogers couldn't. One night, as a rib, Dennis Condrey taught me the sugar hold. And then we're in, where was it? It was Houma, Louisiana. It's a 6-man tag. Me and Bobby Eaton, Dennis Condrey against the Fantastics and Hacksaw Duggan. And for a fucking rib on Tommy, there was a spot in the match where they'd stop Tommy and they'd get him down, and then they'd tag me in, and I'd get on him, and I'd either choke him or punch him or whatever, get some heat on him. And as he started bowing back up, I'd run and tag back out. Well, as soon as they tag me in, he's laying there waiting for me to drop an elbow on him or kick him or whatever, and I slipped in and I fucking put the sugar on him before he knew what the fuck. And then he's like, what the fuck? And I cinched up, as Dennis taught me, with the 3-point stance there. And Tommy's like, all right, shooter, I can't get out, but where are we going from here? I said, I guess nowhere, because now I got to let you out, don't I? He said, yes, and you better be quick. And I got the fuck out of there before he got a hold of me. Because if I had let go and hung around, I would have got stretched back, because Tommy could take care of himself. I wouldn't have got it on him if he hadn't let me first before he knew what the fuck I was doing. What were we talking about?
Houma, Louisiana.
No, I don't think
Y2K.
Y2K. Oh, you mean the virus?
The alleged virus.
The alleged virus. No. Because, you know, I knew how to do things manually. And I would have enjoyed it even then if internet technology had gone all to shit. People rely too much on that. Smart technology is too ignorant to put your full confidence in.
If you look at your lifetime, what do you think is the ideal year in terms of technology? That you accept, that you think this is it, everything's fine, don't go forward.
Well, now, let's see. When they came out with a home video cassette recorder with perfect editing and flying erase heads, 1984. That was perfect. All righty then. I have another email because this is another topic we've been talking about lately. Remember, as he says, as a matter of fact, oh shit. This wasn't lately. This email's from October. But still, remember when we were talking about George Washington having wooden teeth and talking about why did the people back then wear powdered wigs?
Yes.
Well, now we're going to know. This is from Jake from Cincinnati, not Jake from State Farm. Mr. Cornette and Mr. Co-host, thank you both for giving me an opportunity to put my hard-earned history degree that I earned from a small college right up the road from Jim to good use. On the most recent episode of The Experience, back in October, the topics of George Washington's teeth and the use of powdered wigs came up, and I had my fingers crossed hoping the two of you could come up with the right answer, and of course we did not. Contrary to popular belief, George Washington's teeth were not made of wood.
That's what I said. That's exactly what I said.
Well, you didn't come up with all the answers here.
Well, that one
I don't remember all this.
I came up with that one. I didn't come up with it. I knew that one.
Well, he gives details. While it is true that he suffered from dental problems his whole life, Washington had a set of dentures that fell well within the sanitary and moral standards of the era. This, of course, meant the teeth were made of brass, lead, gold, and also a combination of teeth from animals and other, parenthetically, probably enslaved human beings. Powdered wigs, on the other hand, are much funnier. Because wigs consisted of natural fibers in that era, applying oil or powder was necessary to keep it clean. The concept of the traditional powdered wig originated in France in the 17th century when King Louis XIII, had to add those up, wore a wig to cover his bald spot. Due to the rampant spread of syphilis throughout Europe in that period, baldness was unavoidably linked to the sexually transmitted disease. The trend caught on amongst the upper classes of French society, and to wear one was considered a sign of one's elite status. There's a line there somewhere, but
I don't have an STD. I have a wig with powder.
Well, the thing is, they don't powder their wigs. They just have powder their pussies, the elite. He goes on to say, I believe the association with judges and powdered wigs stems from the insatiable sex drives that men of high status in England, many of whom were lawyers and legislators, possessed and therefore many of them desired to cover their baldness as fashionably as possible. And he's offering to be our history consultant. That's Jake from Cincinnati. Well, there you go. That's why the powdered wig came about.
According to Cincinnati. We'll see what we can confirm.
Well, he went to school.
Where?
He's done book learning.
Because the insatiable sex drive of the judges. What?
Well, you know, men back in those days had insatiable sex drive.
Unlike those peasants who didn't want to fuck. Everyone, what? I don't understand. What?
Well, hey, if you were a peasant in the Middle Ages and we've talked about the hygiene, maybe you didn't want to fuck just everybody.
If I was a peasant in the Middle Ages, that may be all I'm doing.
You could fuck a person that smells like a goat, or you can fuck a goat. Because there wasn't any law against the two there.
I wasn't saying that. I was saying I can go work with the blacksmith, or I can go, fuck behind a bush or something. I would go with that. In the Middle Ages.
Back in the Middle Ages, that's all they did was just fuck behind bushes. They shit in the streets.
See, I wouldn't want to do that either.
So do I sometimes when there's no. All right, one more email.
Because this is going so well.